If you have rest as a byproduct of when you are done something, that is constantly telling your body you don't get to rest. And then it stays on all the time, even when you're sleeping. That's why you wake
Wow.
up so tired, because your brain, your body, your nervous system thinks, I can't ever turn off. I wasn't given permission to turn off.
Are you a corporate professional or entrepreneurial mom committed to making a difference in your work and maintaining your priorities? Do you have the guilt loop running on repeat, whether leading a team or leading your family? Welcome to Leadership for Busy Working Moms. I'm your host, Susan, also a high performance and leadership coach. From working in New York City in the high-end fashion world to being a teacher, I created the Aligned Leadership Method, a strategy to align my life to Christ. Out of that overflow, there was an alignment of my leadership that seeped into every facet of my life. You can align any season of your life so that you can be fruitful at work and home. Are you ready to dive in? Get your earbuds on and open your journal and Bible. It's time to align your leadership. You know that conversation you've been putting off? The one where you need to say something hard to someone at work? And every time you think about it, you either freeze up or you're rehearsing it so many times that it loses all its power? I want to help you with that. I just released a free guide called Lead Even in the Toughest Conversations, and it's built on something that changed how I see leadership entirely, and it's from Proverbs. Not as a devotional, this is a leadership manual, because Solomon was not writing for quiet times. He was writing for people who govern, manage, and influence. Inside this guide, I walk you through a 4-part framework that covers everything from how to prepare your heart and mind before you walk in, to how to speak with precision, protect your reputation, and lead for the long game. It's all rooted in Scripture. This isn't generic advice. This is ancient wisdom with urgent application. This resource also includes a mini challenge of 3 one-on-one sessions with me to go over this exact framework, customized to your exact situation at work. You don't want to miss out on this amazing opportunity. Grab the free guide at susanrowe.com. The link is in the show notes. Hey, Shan, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Okay, so let me introduce you. Shan Wright is a registered nurse of 20 years, a holistic life coach, and the host of the Top 2% podcast, Beat Nurse Burnout. After overcoming postpartum anxiety and burnout herself, she now helps nurses and high achievers move from high-functioning fatigue to peaceful, purpose-driven living through faith-based, science-backed coaching and her signature program, Steady. She believes your calling shouldn't cost you your peace, and she's on a mission to help nurses live like it. Alrighty, Shan, I want to hear about all that God has done in your life to bring you to this point.
That's so funny because that's exactly how I start on my podcast. So I'm familiar with the question, and where I like to start is really my childhood, because I think that's where our stories really start. But I grew up I was one of 5 growing up, and that middle child who just really tried to fly under the radar, like get straight A's, be a great athlete, a good friend, a good daughter, like just follow the rules. And I did not know that I was very quickly setting myself up for anxiety as I was striving for this perfectionism in my life. I actually saw it as a very good thing. Like, let's strive to be perfect. Why not? And that led me into college, where I went to nursing school. And it was there because I had gotten, like I said, straight A's. I went to a private Christian school. It was a lot of like small classroom and a lot of intimate learning. And I had the same friends since I was 4. Like, nothing was that scary. Then I go to nursing school. And mind you, this was still a smaller private school. But I got my first C. And then I realized nursing school was really hard. And in order to pass, I was going to need some help. And this was like my first time of being like, I'm just not going to pull up my bootstraps and do it myself. I am actually going to have to humble myself and reach out for some help. And it took the asking, whereas before in like high school and growing up, everyone was just right there. They were in my corner. My teachers were there if I needed them. I never really had to ask my mom for help on homework. It was like I just didn't need that. And now I really needed it. So it took humility. And the most I could come up with was telling my counselor or telling my advisor, I'm having test anxiety and I'm not going to be able to pass this exam, my finals, if I do not get some help. Like maybe I get to take it in a private room or maybe I get longer time. Like I was like, that was the most humility I could execute was test anxiety. And then she's like, well, maybe you should see the school counselor. So I went into the counselor and I told her the same thing. And she's like, well, let's talk about your childhood and let's talk about, and I was like, she really planted the seed of maybe this is not just test anxiety, maybe it's anxiety. And she planted the seed, but it didn't really grow into anything at that point because I really was focused on let's just pass nursing school. So I did, and I passed my boards and I became an RN and I started working. Well, I didn't know how to do this. Like I didn't know how to do this in a peaceful way. It was just like I kept striving and striving for this perfectionism, and it's impossible to be a perfect nurse in healthcare, and it's impossible to be a perfect human being. It just is. And so I just always felt like I was just striving for this approval and love, and I just wasn't finding it. I eventually was like, I just need some more fun in my life. Because that is one thing that the counselor taught me that kind of stuck with me was she wanted to see my calendar. And as a abnormal college student, it was blocked off by like every 30 minutes. I had a task, and there was like one night a week I let myself watch a TV show, The Bachelor, of course, with my friends. But like there was no fun on that calendar. And so she demanded that I create fun on the weekend. And so that's one thing that stuck with me. So as I'm in like 2 years into nursing, I'm like, I need more fun in my life. So what am I going to do? And I heard travel nursing was really fun. And so I started travel nursing and went on that journey. And that did teach me how to have fun and taught me how to relax a bit. Eventually through that journey, I found my husband. We got married, had kids, and that is when the perfectionism really showed up again in full force because it was always there. The anxiety was always there. But once you have kids, like all your all your imperfections are shown, right? And it really humbles you. And so that's when I was like, I can't do this anymore. So it took 3 postpartum anxieties and my third kid to finally have my breakdown moment. And I said, God, I think I have postpartum anxiety. I had heard a story on another podcast of someone describing it, and I started crying. And my pastor had said, whenever there's tears, tune in because that means you relate to it in some way. And I tuned in and I was like, why am I crying? Maybe this is like describing me. And so I went to God and I was like, I think I have postpartum anxiety, but really what I need is just help. I need help to have this, this perfect marriage. I need help from my husband. I need help for these kids that I'm trying to raise. I need help for this perfect baby boy that just birthed. And I feel like I'm the only one that's caring about him right now. I need help to run this perfect business. I had a business at the time, a different business. And I was just like, God, I think I have postpartum anxiety, but what I really need is just some help. Like someone help me. I feel like I'm drowning trying to do all this by myself. And he kindly said, no, you do not need help and I'm not going to help you. But what you do need to do is these 4 things. And honestly, it was my modern day Martha prayer. And I didn't even realize that until, it was just last year when I read the scripture of Martha crying out to Jesus for help and saying like, no one's helping me. Mary's not helping me. She's just sitting at your feet. He said, Martha, Martha, there's only a few things needed in life. Indeed, only one. And those 4 things, well, I say it's 4 because that's what God gave me was these 4 things. The number 1 was spending time with him, but the other 3 were just a way to bring me to peace. That started, and I had a choice there. I had a choice to obey those 4 things to fall into peace or to continue striving in this perfectionism life and anxiety. And I had to make a choice. And at that moment, I made the choice. Okay, I'm going to obey. And it led me through my own holistic health journey. Now, being a nurse, I hadn't really leaned into the holistic life very well. It was kind of like take a medication if I have a headache and just keep going, keep pushing, keep striving. And when I started this holistic health journey, I had no idea where it was going to take me. But where it took me was starting actually into a holistic wellness network marketing business about 6 years ago. In that, I felt like a nurse again. I felt like I was helping people. And then slowly, step by step, God again was very patient and kind with me. He led me into, I'm calling you into nurse coaching. And I never even knew that was a thing, but that's the type of nursing that aligns with my soul and with my journey and with my unique wiring on I want to care for the whole person because I learned how to care for my whole person. So now I can teach others how to care for their whole person and not stay stuck in this burnout cycle of life, but to really live this life of peace and alignment and rest and grace, which I lacked. So, yeah, that's where I am now doing what I'm doing, sharing what I learned in a coaching program and a podcast and all the things.
Wow, that is such an incredible journey. And your journey literally aligns with this whole podcast of alignment in Christ as we grow in leading ourselves, right? God is
Yeah.
teaching us in our lives in the small nitty-gritties. And as we obey, step out in obedience, He shows us more and more of what we need to do. And
Yeah.
we're eventually leading others, just as you are in your calling with nurse coaching. And that is so amazing. I love your beautiful story. Now,
Thank you.
yes, and I know that with your beautiful story, you've got like some really juicy tidbits and a lot of life learning that you can offer.
Yeah.
And I know when it comes to like leading everyone else, sometimes it feels like we're leading everyone else's lives but our own lives, right? Because we're always
Mhm.
giving, especially with motherhood. And I find that that's sort of where I fell into. I was serving everyone else, but then really realizing I wasn't serving and leading myself very well. But
Yeah.
I know you've got like maybe 5 signs that we can always keep our eyes out for.
Yes. So, first, before I dive into those, I want to share because I'm big on beliefs. This is actually where my journey, I had to believe God when He said, these are the only things that you need. Instead of being like, but God, what about this? And what about this? And I know this. And it's like, no, just listen to Him and what He says. But there's a million lies out there that we are believing from what we've been taught, from what we've been um, just nurtured to believe from our family, from our culture, from everything. And we have to first correct those lies
Mm, so
and
true.
have the truth implanted in us so
Hmm.
that it's a daily renewal of the mind, which he tells us to do, because we live in this day and age and because we are being pulled in a million different directions. So, first, I have these 3 lies that are keeping high functioning women in burnout, in this state of stressed outville. Like you are just constantly stressed out and you're like, what's happening here? This just must be life. And where you really like in the back of your mind, you're like, gosh, I just really wish I could lead my life with peace and lead my children with peace. And my home was just like this safe haven where it was just like, relaxing. And it's like, but why? Why can't I not? Well, first off, because you're believing one of these 3 lies. And they
Yeah.
are number one, you just need to push through. Like life is hard. Just keep going. Just pull up your bootstraps, like I said before in my story, and just keep pushing through. And the truth is, chronic stress is a physiological process. So I talk all about stress, right? We have this good stress, we have bad stress, we have chronic stress. And chronic stress literally breaks down your body mentally, emotionally, physically in all the ways. It ages you from the inside out. And when you are just pushing through, you are avoiding the problem. You're putting band-aids on it. You're saying, I'm not going to listen to this headache that has been going on for 2 days. I'm going to put a band-aid on it and I'm going to keep pushing through. I'm not going to listen to this fatigue that I feel every time I wake up and I still feel tired. I'm just going to drink some coffee and keep pushing through. So we're avoiding the truth and we're believing the lie, and that's not leadership. Okay. So
Mm,
then
so
lie number
true.
two is this is just a busy season, which I hear all the time. How many times do you hear mom say, when they're older, I'm going to do this. When they're older, I'm going to sleep. When they're
Yes.
older, I'm going to push through that for that goal. I'm going to travel. I'm like, they come up with all these things. And I'm like,
So
you
true.
don't, you're not promised tomorrow,
Hmm.
which is such a sobering thought. And I hate saying it, but I have to say it because we have to take our rose colored glasses off and just know like this day today is a gift, and we don't get tomorrow until tomorrow comes, and then that's a gift from God too. So the truth is, for most of the women I coach, this busy season that we just keep saying, well, it's just a busy season, is running for 10 years. And it's like, well, that's 10 years of your life. 18 years of your life when you're like putting it on hold till your kids are in college. So the season is not the problem. The problem is that your nervous system does not know how to handle the season. And so we've got to get our nervous system in check with the season that we're living in. And that comes from a lot of self awareness and comes from work, intentional work that you're going to do with God and a coach. And it's not for the faint of heart to just be like, I'm just going to the lazy way really would be just to say, this is a busy season. I'll get to that later. But it's like, no, let's live our life with intention one day at a time. And that's going to
Hmm.
take some work. Line number three is where I do not have time to take care of myself, which kind of falls in the same season. It's a busy season. I don't have time to take care of myself. And the truth is, you do not have time not to take care of yourself. Every decision you are making right now at work, at home, in your marriage is being made from the depleted version of you, from the fatigued version of you, from the stressed out version of you, from the burnt out version of you, from the version of you that is stuck believing a lie. So it's not even authentic to who you are. But when you restore yourself and you rest and you receive grace, you receive that true love that God has for you, that's when you can pour that out. And that's what you want to do. So you don't have time not to receive those things because that is what your heart really wants to pour out on those around you.
Wow. Okay. Every one of those steps totally resonated with me. Pushing through the busy season and not having time. Those are all reasons I have literally told myself in all the different phases of my life too. Because like it's easy to just say, "Hey, I'm going to bootstrap this and I'm going to push on through. It's
Yeah.
just this season. I'm going to be fine. We're going to be okay." And the busy season never ends. It's
Yeah.
like before you know it, this was my story. 10 years goes by, and I think, oh my goodness, it's even busier. When is this going to end?
Exactly. That's what they say. I mean, all the older moms have been saying to me, oh, it doesn't get less busy. It just gets different. And so that's
Yeah.
what the lie, you're believing it's going to get less busy. And the truth is it's not. So to come to face with that lie. So yeah, so those lies are at the core, the foundation of us now leading everyone else's life but our own.
Mm.
So in order to notice those or really to change that perspective of those signs that we're going to talk about, you have to feel like really realize what lie am I really buying into? And let me get honest with that and replace it with truth, which takes a daily renewal of your mind. And then you're going to start noticing the signs that you're leading your own life instead of everyone else's. But let me share those signs with you because I think they're really helpful to just to be like practical. Oh, I do that. Okay, that must mean that I'm so what it is like you're leading everyone else's life, but you're leading yours into burnout. Like if you
Ah.
continue doing these things, these five
Mhm.
things, you will be in burnout. It's inevitable. So we all say like, I'm so stressed out all the time. But it's like, if you don't want to be stressed out all the time, what are these five? What one of these signs are you doing? And then let's stop doing it because if you keep doing it, you're going to be keep in that chronic stress. Okay, so sign number one, you know exactly what everyone else needs around you, but you can't tell me the last time you asked yourself, what do
Mm.
I need? What does my heart
Wow.
need? What does my mind need? What does my body need right now? But you know what
Wow.
your kids need at the drop of a hat. You need what your husband needs. and you do it all. You do it for them, but yet you don't ask yourself.
Mm.
Okay, so that's one of the first ones. Sign number two, your default answer is yes. And you even feel guilty when you say no or you think about saying no. Oh, I'm going to turn down that opportunity or that request to do X, Y, and Z. That brings a little guilt inside to even think about turning it down or disappointing that person. And exactly that. That lies into people pleasing. And people pleasing is something that really in all of these, because if we are living to please God and we're living as giving glory to Him in our holistic being, then we're not pleasing man and we're not even thinking about it. But in actuality, that's what our life is saying we're doing when we're constantly saying yes. We're saying yes to all these good things. And we therefore have to say no to the God things.
Mm.
And a lot of times the God things are uncomfortable. They're pushing us out of our comfort zone, out of our shell. They take courage. And so it's easy. It's like, nope, I'm going to say no to that because I can't. And I got a full schedule because I said yes to all these good things. So that's like, no, check in with God and be like, God, what am I saying yes to that is just a good thing, but not a God thing? Because I don't want to fill my schedule and have no time for God.
So true.
Okay, so that is sign number two. Sign number three is you are exhausted, but you cannot rest because rest feels unproductive. It feels like you're falling behind. It feels like, well, who's going to do the laundry if I don't do 10 loads today? It feels like you just rest feels like when I'm sleeping, I'm resting. And that is not rest. That is not true rest.
Mm.
So, a lot of times, this people pleasing and this perfectionism, this high achieving, is we get to rest when we've earned it, when we have finished the project, when we have cleaned the whole house, when we have driven all our kids all the places they get to go, when we've done our work for the day, then we get to rest. And it's like, that's really telling your body, your nervous system, I rest when I'm done.
Ah,
The work's never done.
right.
So if you have rest as a byproduct of when you are done something, that is constantly telling your body you don't get to rest. And then it stays on all the time. Even when you're sleeping, that's why you wake
Wow.
up so tired because your brain, your body, your nervous system thinks, I can't ever turn off. I wasn't given permission to turn off.
So this one, I just want to pause here real
Yeah.
quick because I think a lot of women out there can really, this is a
Yeah.
pain point for so many women.
Yes.
What is like one thing that can help that woman who is in this constant feeling of exhaustion because everything just has to be done and she's last? What could she do practically to have that time of rest? Are you recommending scheduling it in or how does that
Yeah.
look?
Well, I actually have a freebie that I was going to talk about at the end. I'll kind of just highlight it here, but it's called
Wonderful.
my STAT protocol because I'm a nurse and I talk to these nurses and high achievers. It's something that you need stat. Like if your nervous system is on high alert and operating in chronic stress and does not have time to rest, then you need to serve that nervous system stat, or you're going to continue, again, like I said, you're on the fast train to burnout.
Mhm.
And so I give tools in there that are the STAT protocol is 4 steps that you can do in 5 minutes or less. So it is for the person who has no time. So all I'm asking for you to do is take 5 minutes or less. Um,
Wow.
so I will have that at the end.
Yes, it'll definitely be in the show notes for anyone that wants to get those four-step solutions to address the exhausted issue, because I know we all deal with this.
Yes, yes. So you can find it at www.theshanwright.com/stat, STAT. But really, you need to do these nervous system regulations. You really need to honor your holistic being. I really love to point out the verse when it comes to this. It comes to us running ourselves into the ground exhausted and running on adrenaline and cortisol. I really love to point out the verse. that Jesus commanded is to love your neighbor as yourself. Because that, a lot of times we just cut off that last part. And really what Jesus is saying there, he's implying that you do love yourself. Because otherwise he wants you to love your neighbor, right? He wants you to
Mm-hmm.
love people. But if you love yourself like crap, then you're going to love others that way too. Like if you're not taking care of your body, if you're not giving yourself rest, then you're going to expect perfection from other people as well. You're going to
Mm.
expect achievement from other people, for them to earn your love, for them to earn your favor, for them to earn your rest and your grace and your forgiveness. If you don't give it to yourself, like only when you earn it, then that's what you're doing for other people. And so it's really, again, comes back to those lies. So, what is the lie I'm believing about rest? In order to let my nervous system even go through my STAT protocol, you have to understand what is the lie that I'm believing, that why I won't turn off. And a lot of times it's that I already went through those, like rest is a reward for when I finish something. I don't get to earn it until I'm done, or it's just when I sleep and I'm getting rest. Like a lot of people are like, well, I'm getting sleep. I'm getting 7, 8 hours, but you're on the whole time. So it's not true rest. Some of the things that you do want to implant in your mind is that rest is a leadership discipline. So if we're going to be
Mm.
talking about leadership here, um, leaders are disciplined. They they take time to work on their self before so many other things. Oh, I just read, actually, I've not read the book, but I was talking to someone at church yesterday and he's reading the book and he fully convinced me I'm going to read it. So I instead, before getting the book, I listened to 3 podcast episodes on it, and it's called Lead with Prayer. And what they did was they did research on, it's 3 different authors. They did research, a long research study on tons of leaders in the world in the faith, and every single leader, and these are well-known leaders, successful billionaires, like very successful people in our cultural standards, but also in the faith. And they all had a prayer life that was very robust. That meant it took a lot of time. They all spent time with God in prayer and on themselves, taking care of themselves. And so when you are in prayer, you're truly resting your nervous system.
Mm.
You are centering your mind, you're centering your focus, you are calming that mind. I mean, there's actually research and science on that too, what prayer does to your physiological body. And so prayer is in the SAT protocol, but that has to be like something that you create time for, instead of saying, I can't rest because I'm going to fall behind because I'm running short on time. I don't have time for X, Y, and Z. Prayer is already built into my day. It's not something that I'm going to make time for. It's a non-negotiable, and therefore I'm resting in pockets of my day, and therefore I'm calming my nervous system and all of that.
Wow. Okay. This is so beautiful because I love how you explained it. And I want to just also share, like, okay, for me, prayer is my go-to default. And and just like you said, prayer, whenever I'm having a free moment, I'm just praying. I'm always constantly in conversation with Jesus. And even if I hear something or I'm feeling something that's going to cause anxiety, my first response, and this is what I encourage other women to do, to go into prayer, to always have those Bible verses to meditate on. And because I do know when I go into that time of prayer, praying scripture and just letting my heart out to the Lord, I come out of it with such lightness in my heart. And now I don't know the scientific, all the terms that happens to my sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system, but I feel so much more at rest. And
Yeah.
that's to your point. Yes,
Yes. Yes.
rest is a leadership discipline, and prayer is an avenue for all of this.
Yep. Yep. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it is. It's something that we know we should do,
Mm,
but it's a discipline. It
it is.
takes discipline. It takes strong intention. Um, I mean, I think we all struggle with it and
Mhm.
want. actually there, within this book, there was research study done on pastors, and it was like the amount, I forget the exact how many pastors they studied in this part, but it was the average pastor had praise personally 30 minutes a week, and he's leading a church.
Wow.
So, and I forget how many again they studied, but that I feel like that study you could say the average person that calls himself a Christian and a believer is living this life, but there, if you would sum up their amount of time spent in prayer, it's not as much as they think, and it's not, it's just not a lot. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, and I remember Martin Luther King Jr., right? He has this a quote of, "You have a lot of responsibility or something," and he's like, "That means I need a whole other hour of prayer," or something. Like it was something like that. Like someone was calling out his leadership and his responsibility that he has and his movement that he started, and it was like, that means I need, and how he doesn't have time because he has so much going on. He's like, that means I need extra time in prayer. I need
Mm,
4 hours instead of 1 hour. So
right, right.
that's how we should all be thinking.
Yeah, no, well, isn't that what Peter said when you remember in the early church when the church was growing rapidly and they were serving others and then they just realized, wait a minute, we're doing all this doing, but the
Hmm.
greater work of prayer is not being addressed. So that's when they like realigned some things and delegated.
Yeah.
Delegation is really important in leadership, right? They started
Yes.
delegating, right? And mentoring so that they can focus on the big thing, the real important thing, which is prayer.
Yeah. Wow. You just said something about that delegation. That takes me back to that sign three is if you don't rest, you are believing that lie that I have to do it all myself, which is
Mm,
a big lie for leaders that it's all on me, which if you remember from my prayer, that's the exact thing I said to God. I feel like it's all on me and I can't do all of this perfectly by myself. I need help. Therefore, when we believe that lie, we don't allow ourselves to rest because if it's all on me, if I stop, then the whole thing comes crashing down. I can't ever stop. So that's why leaders need to learn how to delegate. They need to know how to train up their children with discipline and with responsibility and with independence. Um, they need to lead their homes, even their families, their spouses, their extended families, and that takes that again that humility to be like, I can't do it all myself, and I'm not the best person to do this. This child actually has these unique gifts, and they're really good at sorting and organizing. So I'm going to allow them to learn how to do that with the dishes, and I'm not going to do it. Something little like that.
hmm that's great on a practical level.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go into sign number four, which is your body is sending all your signals and you keep telling it to wait. So your body is sending you signals that it's going towards burnout and that you are leading yourself into burnout. And you keep telling it, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for your signals. So this would be fatigue, joint pain, weight, extra weight, anxiety, your hair falling out, the headaches, just the physical symptoms that keep showing up. Your body is telling you things with all of those. And we keep putting band-aids on them. We keep telling it, someday I'll get to you. And um, that is a sign that, again, you're headed straight to burnout or you're already there and you're worried about everyone else's life, leading everyone else except for yourself. So that's actually not leadership. That's actually neglect. You're
Mm-mm.
neglecting yourself, thinking that you're leading others. But if you're neglecting yourself, then that's not a very good example. The best leaders are examples. And so yeah, that's sign number four. And then number five is you have a dream God gave you, or a word, or a passion, or a mission, and it's been sitting untouched for a long time because everyone else's needs are coming first. Everyone else is trumping that. So I think this one for leaders is big because Well, we all have the mind of Christ, right? And
Hmm.
God's the creator. So he's given us such a creative mind. And there's things that you think about that I don't think about. But when we think about something and God gives us an idea or a calling or this creative vision and we just keep pushing it down, like, yeah, God, one day I'll get to that. Or one day I'll dream more about that. Or I'll write out the details. I'll write out the plan one day when I have time. It's really telling God, wait, like, I don't have time for that. But what if you call like falling into that idea and that calling and setting aside an hour or two on a Sunday, on a Sabbath day, and really dreaming with God and looking into that vision and praying about it more and reading scripture about it and all the things leads to an amazing business plan that you never thought of and an amazing business that lets you delegate and lets you have rest and lets you have peace and passion and purpose. And it could be the switch of everything. But we just ignore those ideas and, like, oh, we write it off. Like, that was just my own thought, my own silly thought. Like, that could never be. Or, okay, one day I'll dream about that more and I'll give that more thought and it'll really develop into something. When it's like, I think we should really set aside, well, for one, a Sabbath, like I said, but on that Sabbath day, a time to really dream and create with God and see what He wants to birth inside of us.
Wow, that is powerful because, okay, the two things that we most likely don't do would be to rest and to dream. But those are the two things that really give us, I guess, what's that word? Give us joy in the life that we live here on earth, right?
Yeah.
Because rest gives our body physically time to heal, but it also rests our mind, so we're refilled with joy and excitement for whatever the day has to bring. But the dreams that we all have, those dreams are from God. And if we don't steward them and work on them, that dream will never actually become a reality, and we don't live out the calling that God has for our lives because we are in partnership with God as
Yeah.
we grow. And I feel like we're co-designing with God because God gives us the whole blueprint in bits and pieces. And as we step out in faith, in obedience, right, that more is fleshed out from him. And it's like this beautiful dance of co-creating with him. He's giving us the blueprint, we're living it out, he gives us a little more, and then we just continue to do more, and it's being faithful.
Yeah, and we're all so uniquely designed that we are all co-creating. And he's like, I want to use you for this because I put these unique things inside of you. I give you this unique identity, but you keep telling me to wait. So I'm going to, now this person was made for this and see, and you admire these other people and these other leaders like, wow, look at what they're doing. Well, honestly, I think they probably just spent a little bit time in prayer with God and they allowed him to speak to them and spend that time with him. And then they obeyed the next idea, the next thing, the next thing. They didn't have it all figured out. And so I think you're so right. I think we don't take that time. And then the other thing that came up in my head as you were saying those is rest is worship. And so when we are resting and co-creating with God, that is a form of worship with your holistic being, which is what
Mm.
we're here on earth to do, is to worship the creator. And then we're going to continue doing that for all of eternity, is
Amen.
worshiping him. And so how do we do that on earth? Well, we expand the kingdom in our unique abilities and talents and gifts that he's given us. And if we don't rest, and worship him to find them out, then we're not going to know what they are. So it's like all intertwined.
Yes, yes. Wow. This has been so information packed and so inspiring for me. I'm so thankful that we had this chance to chat and talk. I just want you to tell everyone where we can go to hear more from you and where you are.
Yes. So you can find my podcast at Beat Nurse Burnout. And it's not just for nurses. I do specifically talk to nurses, but it's also for that high achiever leader, or maybe you're a leader in healthcare, and you're looking for some that more rest and how to get out of burnout or prevent burnout. So there's that. And then again, you can find the stat protocol at theshanwright.com/stat. And I'm on Instagram at the Shan Wright. And yeah, you can find me in all those links and they're going to be everywhere.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here, Shan.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey mama, you made it to the end. And listen, if you learned something new and you already see the great value in this podcast, share this episode and bless another mom who's in the weeds of all the busy. Also, would you leave a review for the show on Apple Podcast? This matters so much to empower and encourage another mom around the world. Together, we can encourage one another to align our leadership as we lead ourselves first in Christ. It matters to your families and for future generations to come. You are making a generational impact. God bless you.